This next story may end up in the long term being the most important story I talk about on the podcast this week. We may look back on this, maybe not even months, maybe years from now, as one of the most important stories. Nick Khan made a deal this week that will see Disney partnering with WWE to bring the WWE Network to its Disney Plus Hotstar service in Indonesia, starting with this weekend's Royal Rumble. And what it means could have implications, I think, far beyond Indonesia. This is a big deal. WWE live events will stream on the service as part of a standard subscription. Both companies are said to have had discussions about a similar deal, or similar deals, in other countries. And according to a story on Deadline.com, Disney Plus Hotstar launched in 2020 and has accounted for more than 1/3 of the 118 million global subscribers of Disney Plus. So that works out to be around 40 million subscribers. And it says in many places, notably India, Disney Plus is offered as a low-cost add-on to the Hotstar service, which has been around since 2015. This is a big deal for a few different reasons. I know the first thing a lot of people are going to think of is a potential future sale of the company. I do believe that WWE is going to be sold in the next 5 years. I don't think it's something imminent. I don't think it's something happening in the next 12 to 24 months. But a lot of the moves that they have been making, they're making this company as attractive as possible for a potential sale. All the signs are there. Nick Khan, again this week in an interview with the Sports Business Journal, said they aren't looking to sell the company. He admitted that they've taken some phone calls from companies who are looking to buy, but he said they are not in any active conversations about it right now, and they are not actively looking to sell. Actively is a funny word. There was a time that I wasn't actively looking to leave my job to go somewhere else, but I would have welcomed an offer from another company willing to pay me more money. You know, I never thought Disney would buy WWE. I think there's a better chance of them selling to someone like NBC Universal, who they have an existing relationship with and who have, a lot of money like Disney does if they wanted to acquire WWE, or even acquire a majority stake one day in WWE. But now, for the first time, they're doing a deal with Disney. And if this deal goes well, maybe they do another deal with them in another country. And if that goes well, maybe it opens up some eyes at Disney to the potential of either working with WWE or taking it one step further. Disney has been in acquisition mode for many years. They own a lot of things, some that people might not even be aware of that they own. They bought Marvel for $4 billion. That was over a decade ago, and they made more than half of that on Avengers Endgame alone. It's the biggest movie of all time. I'd say that deal paid for itself. Then they bought Lucasfilm for the same amount of money, and they made it all back on 3 Star Wars movies. That's all it took. 3. They own ABC Network, which means they own most of ESPN as well. They own the FX networks. They own 60% of Hulu. WWE has content on there as well. It was only a few years ago that Stephanie McMahon made the comment, and I mentioned it on the show. She made the comment that in the next 10, 20, 30 years, there's no reason the WWE can't be as big or bigger than Disney. Which sounded preposterous then. It sounds every bit as preposterous now. But just because WWE is not going to be the next Disney does not mean that the mouse would not want to get in bed with them and do business with them if they think that they can make money off of it. The tribal chief might one day have his own ride at Disney World. But forget the possibility of a future sale for a second, all right? Put that on the side. There's something else that is coming a lot sooner, and it's not Veer. It's the end of the rights deals that WWE signed with NBC Universal and Fox for Raw and SmackDown. Those negotiations are probably going to start up, for the next deal as soon as this year. The end of 2022. Nick Khan last year was teasing the idea on one of these, conference calls. He was teasing the idea of Apple or Amazon possibly getting into bidding for live sports rights at some point in the future. Who's to say that Disney doesn't have an interest in getting involved and putting SmackDown on one of the networks that they own? They're another player that could drive up the amount of money the WWE gets for its next rights deal. As bad as WWE programming can be, and we have seen a lot of bad programming in the last few years, okay? You and I both know how bad the programming can be. I've always said that I think they're going to make even more money on their next deal. I have never said that, oh my God, if they don't improve Monday Night Raw, then they're going to get canceled and they're not going to have any place to go. Quite the opposite. They are going to end up making even more money the next time around, whether they stay put or whether they end up going somewhere else. This is why, by the way, nothing ever changes. They have no incentive to change. They have guaranteed money coming in. That was always the knock on a lot of those WCW guys who got guaranteed deals, and why Vince McMahon never wanted to give guaranteed deals in WWE. Guys get guaranteed money, they get lazy. Or at least that was the perception. They get guaranteed money, they don't have to work as hard. WWE is getting guaranteed millions and billions of dollars. They don't have the incentive because, people on Twitter think that what they did was awful and their television is terrible. They don't give a shit. They don't give a fuck. And this is a very big part of why. They got what they wanted already. They can put out terrible programming and still make boatloads of money. So why bother to change? The last time it was $1 billion. Next time it could be $2 billion. Not because the quality of the shows is so great, but because they produce a shitload of content. Think of all the hours of television this company produces, and they air live. It's live sports. And companies are still spending big bucks for live programming. That's not what this deal is with Disney that they just made. The deal itself is not really the news. The news is WWE doing business at all with Disney and where it could potentially lead down the road. That's the real story to watch. This is why they brought Nick Khan into the company.